What I do when there's a duck playing, where the duck is around. Wait. The duck. Thank you for the lighting. The duck thumb on the side of the street, on the middle of the street, walking down the middle of the street. Key is represented in instantaneous by looking at the pattern of the 3 and the 2 and the 3 and the 2. And I say the 2 are a pair of skis. And I say the skis are all over the keys. Every time you find a pair of 2, there are skis. When you're riding on the skis over to the right, which I always consider to be, and I could play it forward. That one can be the duck thumb. This duck thumb can be on the keys, and it can play the skis and the 3s, and also just be hanging right down there to accidentally step on in the middle of the sharp side of the middle of the street, coming on, playing the middle of the street, walking down like a duck down the middle of the street, not the edge of the street, not the alley, not the alleyways, no, the middle of the street. I remember when I was little, and there was a cover that came over the piano, and there was a cover, the actual flipped, hinged cover that would come over, and you'd flip it open, and then you'd have all these keys to look at. That visual, that is 3s and 2s, 3s and 2s, 3s and skis, and 3s and skis, and 3s and skis, was fantastic. Well, my point is that I used to get all these smudges and nicks on that baseboard of it, because it used to be just open, the cover, and on the underside of that cover, I would get all these smudges and Facebook because I was so into the 3s and 2s sharp side of the street. It was so cool to touch. I can feel 3s and I can feel 2s, I can feel 3s, I can feel 2s. Let me tell you. Look at this. Let's a rewind, remember? Okay, so you're walking down the center of the street, you're walking down the center of the street, you're walking down the center of the street, and all of a sudden you look to the right side and there are all the sharp houses. You look to the left side, you see all the letter houses. The letter houses are fine, but we like to play all the sharp houses because they just happen to be a member of the A pentatonic scale, which is 5 pentatonic. And we also like to play all of them because they get your thumb onto the sharp side of the street, like you're walking down the center of the street, which is right touching the edges of the sharp houses, the 2-story houses, and also you're looking both sides. You're looking at the right side of the street. His hand's like this, and he keeps going back and forth. What he's talking about is all the 3s and all the 2s and all the 3s and all the 2s and all the 3s and all the 2s and all the 3s and the 2s, 3s, 2s, 3s, 3s, and the skis. And the 3s, and the 3s, and the skis. Skis, skis, 3s, 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 3s. 3s and the skis. This is KEYSongs, studioE. Letter in the same position on the same sharp side of the street. So I'm looking at, I got the skis and the 3s. I've decided to pick the right ski everywhere. There's one over here. But if I take my hand and I angle it like the great duck look, where it's angled and your hand is not straight on, but it's angled like a duck waddling onto the keyboard, so your thumb is on the keyboard on the sharp notes. Then you can feel the position of how the width is between your first and maybe your third, or definitely your 4th finger, leaving your 5th finger just dangling for emergency in case you need to reach another octave that's close to it, but just angling your hand so far that you're using your big, strong 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers, leaving your 5th for emergency, but angling your hand big enough so you're making your octaves 1 and 4, like this. And feeling what it feels like to play angles on the keyboard rather than straight on, and feel like what it plays with your first and your fourth finger, and that angle feeling, getting used to it will make you a better keyboard player. It will also make you realize that it's not that tiring or hard to play keyboard. The skis or the threes. Or one's on the threes and the other's on the skis. And if you can get them, get them like a duck. On the keys, on the sharp two-story houses on the one side of the street. And get the thumbs in your hands like this, like you're wobbling on the center of the street. As you're riding the skis, you're going ee. There's nothing like when you're playing on the skis and their neighbors, the threes. So we got the skis and the threes. And in the threes is G sharp, the middle, G sharp. Point being, we've got all those same 5 pentatonic notes that sound always great together. And I love bringing and playing like a duck with my thumb on the keyboard, on not only the edge of the keyboard, but up in the center of the street where I'm just touching the edge of the sharp two-story level houses. And I'm walking down the center of the street and I'm looking to one side and I'm seeing the letters. And I'm looking to the other side and I'm seeing the sharps. And I'm looking back both ways and I see patterns of 3s and 2s that help me find where I am in the letter crazy yards. But one thing I like is when my thumb is on the keyboard, on the sharps. It just gives your whole hand a whole new it just gives your whole hand a new perspective, yes, but also beauty. Something about it. We just talked about E because that's really the first note that I taught here was E, even though it's not marked. What was the other note that I taught here? All the time, G sharp, G sharp. Where's G sharp? G sharp is in the middle of the threes. We search and then we see on the other side of the street we have the sharp side of the streets with the 3s and the 2s and the 3s and the 2s and the 3s and the 2s pattern. In the middle of the 3s is the G sharp. G sharp. When we learn, the feel of an octave on our first and fourth fingers by walking it like a duck onto the keyboard and not just straight on like a rabbit would, but taking advantage of the waddle of the duck and going like onto, as I float down here, onto the keys, onto the sharp side, with not way down here. I'm not reaching and just holding my thumbs down here. No, they're way, look at the difference. If you start like this, you're going straight on like this, it's not really utilizing your thumbs at all. They're just sitting down in the alley. They're not doing anything down here. I'm saying you got to get used to not only playing straight on, but you got to get used to turning your hands like a duck would waddle onto the keyboard, and you get the feel, the look that I want, that turned hand look, where you have the ability to put your thumb on a sharp, and then naturally the width of your hand, palm and everything will touch about the same one. If you just place your hand on a normal size keyboard, and you just place your hand like this and go like this, it'll play down the exact note. And I am playing with my first finger and my fourth finger. And if you notice, I'm playing all the middle of the G. I am playing all the middle of the G sharps. Here we go. For forking, if you need to fork, I recommend octaving around a forking. Octaving makes things so cool. Once again, I always like to remind everyone, I'm back on the sharps because it's much easier to listen in your ear to what can happen if you just do the same thing on each octave. I'm on the skis or I'm on the threes. Well, let's say I'm as I'm looking down the keyboard, let's say I'm on the right ski. Well, I'm going to find the right ski, and then I'm going to look at the next skis and find the right ski. That from there to there is called an octave. It's the next note in line. It's really cool stuff. But the cool thing is, I'm going to learn how to just feel that in my, I'm way on, like a duck, like I was talking about, like I was showing you when I first started here tonight, that I'm way onto the keyboard, onto the sharp notes. So I'm sitting on those sharp notes, and I'm just learning first how to feel what it likes just to balance on that note, because remember, that note is higher than the rest. They do get higher. They are higher. There's a full-size key, but look, they are higher. Can you see it? They're three-dimensionally higher, and I like it when they are, because there's been a big discussion like, oh, we're just going to go to tablet-type keyboards where they just show the sharps and the letter sides. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't really mind if you do that. But the coolest thing is, like, I like to feel the keyboards and walk the road down the center like a duck. Because it's needed to just reach around and just slide with your thumb back and forth when you're on top of the sharps anyways, and you're sliding back and forth like this. You could use your little finger to grab one of those lower octaves, but it's great if you learn how to play like a duck in both hands, waddling on the keyboard, waddling with your thumbs on the keyboard all the time, even on the sharps all the time, keeping them over here all the time. Riding in the middle of the street like this all the time. I'm in the middle of the street. I'm not down in the alley on the edge. And my thumbs are riding in the middle of the street. And on one side, I'm looking at the sharp side of the street. And on the other side of the street, I'm looking at the letter sides. Sharps or letters, sharps or letters. Bing, bang, boom.